the racetrack, like top-class performers, you know, winning the feature races.
Are they all stallions that race?
In Korea mostly, overseas not. It depends on the breeding.
Okay.
If you're overseas, the expensive horses and the best bred horses, they usually keep them as colts, as young horses, and hope that they will become stallions and will be good enough on the racetrack. Korea it's just a little, they're in their infancy, so it's a little bit different. They're not up to the rest of the world yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just really curious about everything, so I'm kind of asking questions left and right. If you can slap me like that anytime. And so, would you say that the famous horses, at least in the movies, are like from Arabia? Is there a certain area now? Is it just doesn't really matter because they're all over the place, or is there a certain place in the world that has the famous, they're famous for?
Well, they started from the Arabian.
Okay.
The first thoroughbred horse started from the Arabian horse, and they evolved from there. If you go back through history, you probably relate more to England, England, Europe, America. Yeah.
And some horses are built less for speed, but more for like tractor.
Yeah, I spent time in Dubai working, and we raced Arab horses over there, which are a totally different animal.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
What what kind of qualifications? You've been here, you've been in Dubai, we mentioned Beijing, and Australia as well. You were doing training.
Yeah, I was.
Where did it start? You had a horse on the farm, and you thought, man, this is what I want to do. I love horses. When did you fall in love with horses?
Yeah, my father was an owner when I was very young, probably around 7 or 8 year old. Then he became an owner-trainer, which is what we call just very small, have 1 or 2 horses. So I started riding at age 10. I had a pony, and I was riding track work at age 12. And then from there, I left school at 14 to become a jockey. And even though my parentage was always going to be big, I was always going to get too heavy to remain a jockey.
I was going to say you're not a small guy.
No. I started at age 14 and I was retired as a jockey at age 17. But my goal even at age 12 when I was riding was to be a horse trainer. And I had to wait till I was 21. So that was my goal back then. But I just wanted to be a jockey. The couple of years I had riding was a great experience and a good learning curve for me.
I bet that you can really know every single angle. But it seems like the jockeys for life, or until they retire, they're kind of light guys, so it's not a burden for the horse. Yeah,
exactly. And even the jockeys, it can be a pretty hard life. A lot of them have to waste and keep a light weight to be able to ride the horse. And not all jockeys are blessed with a light weight, so they have to work very hard.
It's kind of like models.
Yeah, exactly,
Sometimes they seem a little bit too skinny, the models, for example, and it's almost like the jockeys, I can imagine, they're working hard, but you got to be really strong to be on that horse.
Strong fitness. Fitness is the key. Your strength will come with fitness. And riding horses, you have to be exceptionally fit. People would never realise the fitness of an actual jockey or a horse rider.
What were some of the things that you did as a jockey and that you're, I guess, influencing the jockeys where you are?
I only rode for a couple of years, so I wasn't all that successful. But one of the big points is the teaching. When I was in Beijing, we had to teach just kids from the local village to ride work for us, and they wanted to become jockeys, and we spent a couple of years there teaching these kids, and we had many horses to use. And that was very fulfilling, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot at watching, teaching our jockeys how to ride, how to ride tactics in races, and that in turn it taught me a lot in what to say and what to look for and how to teach.
And then they just shut it down?
Yeah, Beijing shut down. It closed down, and off home we went back to Australia.
Boom. Next page turned and new chapter. So, you said 21 was the magical age in order to get a horse
start training in Australia, and I think most places around the world you would have to be around 21 to obtain a trainer's license.
Is the license, I know that a pilot license or maybe a nursing license doesn't necessarily translate everywhere you go. Does a horse training license, is that an international thing?
In today's age it is.
Okay.
When I started it wasn't, it was more experience.
Okay.
And you fronted the stewards which were in control of the body of racing.
All right.
And they would know that you were a jockey, you were experienced, and they would allocate you a licence.
Okay.
Today is very, very different. It's like being, I tried to save him for Stadium Prospect, and he got huge public support. It was in the papers,
Yeah.
and but eventually after 3 or 4 months, there were just too many complications, and
Yeah.
they had to put him down.
Mm. Phew. It just seems like, I don't know. It's so hard to digest. I mean, for you, it's a reality, and
Yeah.
I mean, how often would you say that a horse breaks down?
In my training, I haven't had too many breakdown. Look, I couldn't tell you numbers, but they'd be very small. It might be anything, maybe 10 or 12 in the last 20 or 30 years I've had that have had to be put down, if that.
Well, that's a good number.
It's not many. Yeah.
One is too many, but
Yeah.
I'm saying it somehow there's the fear that this, because you see on television and the movies, you know, something bad happens all the time just for the sake of the climax
Yeah.
of the story, and then it's like, oh, you know, you think this happens every race, a horse goes down or something, you know.
Yeah.
But if it's that little over,
Yeah, I mean that's my style.
One
But
a year.
I mean it happens a lot, but I mean it's a part of life in every aspect, isn't it? There's accidents, so.
what do you do to prevent it? Do you like wrap up the legs, or how do you?
No, generally not. I mean you train your horse. I don't bandage legs or that. Sometimes at night you have perhaps older horses that that eventually get leg problems, and they just need, you know, treatment, you know, bandaging at night just to contain the heat in the leg to just make it feel better. They're no problem to race and things like that, but they just need icing and more treatment just to keep them going on the racetrack for a little bit longer.
I see.
But we always feel and we always hope that we can keep them racing and keep them sound, and then they will retire sound, you know, and we hopefully don't make too many mistakes.
And when a horse retires, it just kind of goes to horse pastures and hangs out with its buddies.
It's up to the owner. Yeah.
This is a little bit more of a disgusting question, and you can say,
Yeah.
dude, it's not my thing, but I think in the UK, I've heard that some places eat horse meat.
Yeah.
If you're putting down a horse, why waste the horse?
Yeah,
Do
well,
some
in
people-
Australia they usually use them for dog meat.
Okay.
I wouldn't personally like to eat a horse.
Well, I mean, meat is meat in some
Yeah,
cultures. Every
yeah,
culture's
but they,
different,
I mean, at the end of the day the horses have to go somewhere, and it's all animals have to go somewhere. And it's more humane to put something down than it is to let them starve in a paddock, you know, and
Sure.
plenty of people do that, so
Yeah.
and again, it's a part of life.
Okay. Well, a part of our show is music, and we're going to hear a tune. This is Perfect Day.
Music